One of the biggest and most reputable mints in the world, the Perth Mint, is being accused of diluting their gold bars that they sent to China. This is a crazy accusation. I want to go over this, talk about the accusation. I want to give my theory on what I think is going down, and then I will talk about Perth Mint's response to all of this. So let's do it. A lot of people are talking about this, and rightly so, because the Perth Mint is so big, you would think, how could they possibly be faking gold bars? I mean, this accusation here from ABC News in Australia, the headline reads, Perth Mint sold diluted gold to China, got caught, and tried to cover it up. Now, this story broke a few days ago, but if we dig in here, it's not exactly what it seems. You'd think that they're basically putting tungsten in gold bars or filling them with copper or silver or something, and that's not the case at all. The start of the article reads, the historic Perth Mint is facing a potential $9 billion recall of gold bars after selling diluted or doped bullion to China and then covering it up, according to a leaked internal report. Down here it says, one Perth Mint insider who asked not to be named as they could face 5 years jail if their identity is revealed, says it is a scandal of the highest level. I don't know if I've ever seen one this big, they say. So they're blowing this up. They're trying to make it seem like it's a really big deal, when in fact what was going on is kind of ridiculous. And I have a theory about what was actually going on. But let's read about gold doping, because this is what they're being accused of. Gold doping is a somewhat accepted practice in the industry and is not illegal, but is high risk for refiners as it lowers the quality of bullion by adding impurities like silver or copper. Trace amounts of these metals are permitted, but Perth Mint's plan to keep just within industry standard of 99.99% purity only left a minuscule margin of error. The Mint began doping its gold as a cost-saving measure in 2018, expecting to save up to $620,000 a year, a tiny fraction of its annual sales. So this is the Perth Mint right here, and if you don't know, they are really good at refining gold. They have the world record. Look at this, 6/9 fine, the purest gold ever produced, refined by the Perth Mint in 1957, and I'm sure they've improved their techniques so they could probably still get 6/9 fine, maybe close to 7/9 fine gold today. So basically what's going on is that their gold that they're refining down is too fine. It's probably 5 or 6/9 fine, but the gold bars that they're selling only need to be 4/9 fine. And so what they're doing is they're adding little bits of silver and copper into the bars on purpose because the gold was too pure. Now the customer is still getting 1 kilo of 4/9 fine gold, but there's a little bit of silver or a little bit of copper in there. We're talking, the 0.01%. So we're not talking about a lot, but the people, I guess, are complaining that the 0.01% was not exactly what they thought it was supposed to be. I don't exactly know why they're complaining if there's too much silver, because silver is worth more than copper. So you'd think if they're going to dope the bars, you want them to dope them with silver, right? I mean, you're not buying a 5/9 fine gold bar. You're buying a 4/9 fine gold bar, and that's exactly what you're getting. If we read right here, it says, when Perth Mint went back and checked the 2 gold bars at the center of the customer complaint, it found one had been red flagged by its refinery. The bar's purity test, known as an assay, had failed to meet SGE's strict standards for silver, but was still above the crucial 99.99% purity. If we skip to the damage control part of this article, it says the doping program began to unravel in September 2021. Shanghai Gold Exchange alleged 2 bars contained too much silver and were non-compliant with its specifications. So that's the complaint right here. They're saying the bars have too much silver in them, although they still are 4/9 fine gold. So it's the 0.01% they're complaining about, which I don't think you should be able to complain about that because that's not stamped anywhere on the bar. It doesn't say 4/9 fine gold and 0.01% copper or whatever. I mean, you should be rejoicing that there's too much silver in the bar because you still have all the gold. So this is free silver you're getting. But here is my theory on why they were complaining when they did. So look at the timing. Their complaint is in September of 2021. So they must have bought these gold bars prior to September 2021, and let's look at a chart for gold over the last 5 years. Now, I do want to point out this chart is in US dollars, but if we look at around September 2021, we can see the price for gold is much lower than it was at the peak back in August of 2020, which is when I'm assuming they probably bought these gold bars. If we switch over to another currency, let's go ahead and do Australian dollars because it is the Perth Mint. Look at this. Price in September of 2021, probably around here, much lower than the peak back in 2020. We can even switch over to Chinese yuan. Let's see. There it is. And it's basically the same thing. So I'm thinking they probably bought the gold bars at the peak. Now they're trying to return them. That's literally what they're trying to do. They're complaining about the little bit of other metal in these bars and trying to return them in the future when the price of gold is lower than when they bought the bars. I'm not 100% sure this is what's going on, but it's my theory. Before I read Perth Mint's response to all of this, I want to invite you to put your own theories down below in the comment section. I could be completely off, but I feel like people are usually motivated by money. So if they were losing lots of money, let's say $10,000 on each of these gold bars, and they had a chance to return them, they would probably try and take advantage of that. So I could be completely wrong, but I don't know. I just feel like it makes sense. Anyway, so let's talk about what Perth Mint has said about all of this. Let's see. Perth Mint emphasizes that there's no question about the gold purity and value of the gold bars the Perth Mint has sold to customers in China. At all times, the 1 kilogram bars the Perth Mint produced and sold contained at least 4/9 fine gold as per their specifications. This has never been in dispute. The Perth Mint's 1 kilogram 4/9 fine gold bars contain up to 0.1% of non-gold materials, including silver and copper. These purity specifications meet industry standards and align with those set by the International Market Authority, the LBMA. In September 2021, the Perth Mint was made aware that some of its 1 kilogram bars did not meet the non-gold specifications of the Shanghai Gold Exchange, or the SGE. The SGE specifications demand that the non-gold component, that is 0.1% of the bar or 100 parts per million, contains no more than 50 parts per million of silver. So basically, the bars that they were making, they were totally fine to sell to anyone in the world except the Chinese, because the Shanghai Gold Exchange has these crazy rules. I feel like they're trying to micromanage here. It seems like they're so specific. Oh, it can't be more than 50 parts per million silver. Why? Why can it not be more than 50 parts per million silver? Would you rather have more copper? I feel like this is absolute nonsense. Literally, the bars that they're getting are worth more if you refine out that silver than if it had been copper. So the complaint to me seems absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why China has these different rules than the rest of the world, but either way, I will say this. Once they figured out that this was going on, Perth Mint, they completely redid their alloying or doping program. So check this out. As part of the Perth Mint's review of refining practices, new processes were implemented to ensure that 1 kilogram bars would have an average minimum gold purity of 99.996% compared with the industry standard of approximately 99.992%. As a result of this new practice, which came into effect December 2021. The maximum non-gold component in a 1 kilogram bar is 0.004%, which adheres to the SGE's non-gold specification standards. So there you go. Once they figured out there was a problem, they immediately changed it. Although it was only a problem for China, it was not a problem for the rest of the world. I actually don't like their solution to this problem. I suppose their bars were 99.992% gold in the past, so it was a 0.008% of silver that they put in or something like that, which obviously is going to be over the 50 parts per million. And their fix for this was to just raise the gold purity to 99.996%. So it's only going to have a maximum of 40 parts per million silver. I would not have done this if it was me in charge. I would have said, okay, you can't have 50 parts per million silver. Now you get no silver. And instead of 99.992%, guess what? We're doing 99.991% gold and 0.009% copper. So take that. That's what I would have done. But I'm not in charge. I guess they're too nice. They're basically like, oh, too much silver. We'll just add enough gold so that, you're not going to get over that 50 parts per million. So maybe that is what Shanghai Gold Exchange wanted. Maybe they wanted that little bit of extra gold in there because they're like, hey, Perth Mint is saving $640,000 a year. Let's get every penny out of them that we can and complain about this. So I suppose that is another theory out there. They just wanted them to raise the gold percentage. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like both theories are still very good. If I was handling this, I would not have done it the way they did. But that just goes to show the Perth Mint, they're very, very reputable. I buy from them all the time. I have a lot of Perth Mint stuff, so that's kind of why I wanted to put out this video, just to show that they're definitely legitimate. These accusations, oh, they're diluting the gold, they're doping the gold. It's kind of a bunch of nonsense, and it really only applies to China. So, all right, well, I'm going to end the video there. I do want to say a big thank you for watching, and I will see you all in my next one. Silver Dragons out.